holes on them to let air out. So, ow, that hurt. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Athena's Garage. In today's video, we're going to be putting some rear shocks on the Tundra. Let's get right into it. Alright, so some of the basic things you're going to need. A 17mm wrench, a 17mm socket and ratchet. The new shocks that I'm putting on uses an 18mm, obviously a 22 to get your tire off. If you're going to take your tire off, you don't have to. It's going to be a little easier if you do. You're going to need a jack. I am using an angle grinder, a wheel brush, and an extended breaker bar here, plus this pipe wrench. This is all the tools and an adjustable wrench. This is all the things that I use on the other side, so let's move on to the actual shock. So the shock that I'm going with is kind of to complement the front shocks. I have front Rough Country leveling 2-inch leveling struts up front, so I went with the Rough Country rear shocks. They're the N3 models. It's the same thing for the fronts. This what comes with the kit if you buy it. It's just a shock, and you have all your bushings, which is nice. You have a nut. You have the nut up here too. And if you want to protect the shaft here, you have to kind of buy this separate, which I don't know why they don't include this, but it's kind of dumb. These are kind of budget friendly. It's a little bit upgrade from OEM, because if when we take the OEM off, I'll show you. These are a lot more robust looking. They're a little bit bigger, thicker shaft. And the little covering thing here, you have to buy separately. Like I said, I think I got this thing for $5 to $10, so definitely recommend that to kind of protect your shaft. So let's get over to the truck and take the wheel off. When preparing to lift the truck up with a jack in order to get your tire off, you're going to want to do it from the frame and not the axle, because it's going to extend your suspension, the rear suspension, which is going to make it easier to remove this rear shock. So go ahead and start lift the truck up from the frame. I have to use a big block because my truck is a little bit lifted, especially with these 35s. All right, so fair warning, before you start this project, you need to be spraying some kind of penetrating lubricant if your truck has any kind of rust or age on it. This truck is 11 years old. The other side, I had loads of trouble getting this nut off, and I'll show you what I ended up having to do, and hopefully I don't have to do it on this side. But if you want to take these off and your truck is any kind of age, you know, maybe 5 to anything older, years old, you need to start spraying some penetrating lubricant days before you start this job. I did not, and I regretted it and had to suffer through the other side. So this thing was a pain in the ass, and it shouldn't have been. So hopefully this side's a little bit easier. The major issue with this is when you turn this nut, the actual whole shock body moves. So even if you're torquing this thing super hard, the nut is going to turn the entire shock body, which makes it a pain in the ass. I actually cut this part, this protective sleeve off of the other side, and because I ended up marring this little square top up here, it was almost impossible to do. So they have this little square nut on top of the shock body so that you can get a grip and hold it while you twist off the nut. But the other side was so rusted on and such a pain in the ass, it just didn't work. So my plan right now is to try to wire wheel some of this crud off of here and get it cleaned up so that the threads are a little bit easier. It has a little bit easier time coming out of the threads, the nut. And hopefully, since I've soaked this thing down with penetrating fluid for the last couple days, it should come off. If it doesn't, we're gonna have to use the pipe wrench, and it's a pain in the ass. So hopefully this works. An adjustable wrench on that top little square, and you're gonna wanna get your 17, and hopefully this thing comes loose. It is not. So that's going to be a partial problem. Okay, so the way this is, we'll probably have to use that breaker bar, and I'll probably just go and do the same route that I did the previous one. If you're planning on saving these, this is not the thing to be doing. But I don't care about these things. They're 11 years old. I plan on putting obviously newer upgraded ones on. I don't care about these older shocks. So this is what I'm doing. I'm cutting this protective plastic piece off. It's literally just a piece of plastic. So I'm gonna cut this off with just a razor blade. See, it exposes the shaft here. This plastic piece comes off. So this is where the angle grinder comes in. What I'm gonna do is literally take this grinder, I need a new disc, and I'm going to grind a flat spot on each side to make it square. And once each side is kind of squared off some, I'm going to take the pipe wrench and get it on here, because this thing will not grip this at all. This shaft is too hard of a metal, and so the wrench does not get a bite into it. I'm going to, like I said, grind each side, kind of make a square spot so I can slide it on, get it to where it stays, and then it'll kind of brace against the frame, and I'll use a giant breaker bar along with the 17 millimeter wrench. Just to show an example, this is what happens when you spin the nut. You probably can't even see it, but the actual whole shaft moves. This whole shaft is moving. So the other option is to literally cut this shaft, which I might have to do if this angle grinder doesn't work. So let me get the grinder out and let me grind a little bit on each side and get the pipe wrench attached. So I have grinded down the sides to make it a little more flat so the pipe wrench can grab a hold of it. So let's see if that was enough. Okay, so I had the pipe wrench the wrong way, stupidly, and every time I was twisting it, the shaft was just coming loose. So I flipped the pipe wrench around, it's wedged in here, and I actually have a ratcheting 17 millimeter, so it's a little bit faster. I don't have to take it off every time, but this is the process, just slow and steady. I got this breaker bar on here. It's just gonna take a while. The last one took, 30 minutes to take off this bolt. Oh, did it slip? No, we're still going. It's a slow process. So I'm not gonna record this whole part. Just know that it's a pain in the ass, and try not to scratch your truck like I have. So let's get this thing off of here, and I'll bring you guys back when we're done. The nut is almost off. Nut is off. So thankfully this bottom bolt and nut is not really a problem. At least it wasn't on the other side. It probably won't be on this side. No, it's already loose. And it just comes right off, thankfully. So I don't think you'll have any issues with this one. It's just that top nut. So look at that, I can already unthread it by hand. And this bolt should, because I have the shock, because I have the body lifted and not the axle, the shock should just come right free. You can take your pipe wrench off. Now it's gone. And the shock, don't lose your nut and bolt for the lower connector down there. The shock should be free theoretically, but I had to knock it loose before just to get it off. So I had to get it hammer and kind of knock off this stuff up here to get it off of the threads, because it was so rusted on. So I'll probably have to do that, so stand by and I'll show you what I did. All right, here it is. So all I did was tap the top of it with this pipe wrench actually, and it just slid right out. So here is the old, here's the new. Look at the size of the shaft on this thing. It might be hard to tell on camera, but it is at least double the size, as well as the chamber here, the tube. It is about maybe 1.5 times wider, and it is longer, a little bit longer. So it should be a little bit heavier duty. I did notice whenever I put the other side on, I stood on the side that had the original and bounced. It was a lot more bouncy than the new shocks, and they're a little bit stiffer. Now I know after a few rides it should loosen up a little bit, but it may not be near as loose as these, so I'm not sure how the ride is gonna go from there. Hopefully it's not horrible. Also keep in mind, when you take this off, look at how the orientation of these things are. You have this plate on the bottom, I can't remember what this is called right now, right here in between the actual position that it stays on the truck, mounts to the truck, is right in here, and then this thing goes in there like that. This is all seized together, so I can't actually take it off. And thankfully, Rough Country sends you all bushing. It's a bushing. Sends you all new stuff. So whenever you go to put it on, it's all new stuff right here. You have the bottom one. You have your bottom piece like that. Maybe it's this one actually. Yeah, your bottom piece like that, because it's a smaller hole for the top. You have this thing, and make sure that's inside there. It slides over that. So it's going to be like this so far, and then your top plate is going to go over, and you'll have your nut on there. So, and before we install this new shock, we have to charge it. I'm not sure why. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that. I just saw everyone else do it, so I'm just going to do it. I don't know if it's even, you know, you're supposed to do it or not. But to charge it, all you do is just take this strap off. You can cut it or just depress it a little bit and it comes right off. And pump the shock in and let it extend all the way out. Pump it in, let it extend all the way out. 5, 6 times, maybe 10 times. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. It's pretty simple, self-explanatory. So get that done, and then we should be able to mount this thing to the truck. Before we put the shock on, I have this protective like little boot here to go over the shaft. The original one had it. Now they don't sell it with it, so I'm not sure if it's needed, but I'm going to put it on anyway. So let's get this thing on. All right, so it's pretty clear. It has a small end and a big end. The big end the pipe clamp here goes on. So we'll just put this on over the shaft like this. Should just slip on pretty easy. Kind of just slips over this end right here, and this side you just kind of slide over the shock body, and we'll tighten this pipe hose clamp up. So I'll just kind of slide it down to here. There's no specific thing on where you're supposed to slide it to, so let me get a flathead and tighten this bad boy up. Now I'm not sure exactly where to put this. I'm just doing it the same as the other side, kind of right into where the Rough Country sticker is there, and it's on there. I'm just gonna cinch it up pretty good. Now these things are kind of just dust covers. I don't think they're really gonna protect from much, maybe just debris and stuff, because they do have holes on them to let air out. So, ow, that hurt. Anyway, don't do that. And now we can get this thing on the truck. Back at the truck, this bushing here, look what that stupid screwdriver did. It slides in. There's a kind of like a little nipple side that slides in. And if there's any rust or anything, you may want to clear that out now. There's a little bit in there, so I'll just kind of rub it until it goes down. Now, here's the shock. Take the nut off. Take your little bushing stuff and slide it on like this, like that. Now we should, I don't think the orientation of how this shock goes on matters, so I'm just gonna probably do it like this way. Again, I don't think it really matters. Slide this up through here. Now it may be kind of tight. And now here is the part we are gonna definitely have to depress the shock some, but thankfully it's kind of easy to depress. Get this on there. Now your top piece, it's domed. You want the dome down to kind of compress that, and your nut on the top. This is an 18mm nut, so now the top nut is on. You're gonna want to make sure this bolt goes in, and it can be a little difficult if you have some really tough shocks. These ones, thankfully, I can kind of depress myself. So as they extend out, I'll slip the bolt through. Now, I probably should have cleaned the threads off on this, and I'm not sure why, but Rough Country gives you another bolt, an extra one, another nut. And I thought it was for this, but I put it on the other side, and the actual threads don't come all the way to the top. I mean, maybe it's the same thing. It fits the thread, so I don't know if it's supposed to be used there or not, but I'm just going to go ahead and use the original one. I'm not sure exactly why they send you to. Maybe it's fine there. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it back on. Anyway, the bottom bolt is 65 foot-pounds, so go ahead and torque that down, and then we'll move back up to the top and start tightening that one. All right, the bottom is torqued down. Now it's time for the top. We're just going to tighten this nut down, and you'll start to notice when you start getting tighter, the actual whole shaft will start moving. So that's when you need to get an adjustable wrench and put it on top on this little square part so it stops it from turning the whole shaft, because you don't want that shaft turning. Look, it's already starting to do it. Yeah, it's turning. I don't want that to happen. So what we're gonna do is, I might try to loosen it some. It's not going to. Let's see. Let's get on this top little square piece here. And this would be nice if you had a ratcheting wrench, but I don't have an 18 ratcheting wrench, unfortunately. So we're just gonna have to do with what we got. There's not a lot of room to turn the nut, unfortunately, so you just have to, like I said, work with what you got here. Now this nut will bottom out at some point, and when it does, that's when you torque it to 16 pounds. It's gonna be hard to torque this thing at 16, so I'm just gonna kind of do it by feel, because I don't have a torque wrench that will fit up here. So we're just gonna do it by feel. It's about to bottom out. It's bottoming out. Oh, that's probably more than 16, but that's what we're doing. And there we go, guys. The shock is on. All right, guys, so that's gonna be the end of the video. If you wanna buy any of this stuff, I'll have links down below where all of it is. Hopefully you get it done. It was kind of difficult until I had the right tools, like the breaker bar, excuse me, and the pipe wrench to get on the shaft. But here it is, the little dust thing there. Everything's connected, it's all on. I just need to put the tire back on. You can probably do this without actually taking the tire off, but it's gonna be a little bit easier with the tire off. Especially if you have an older truck like this that has a lot of rust. Well, it doesn't have a lot of rust, but had a lot of rust on that nut. So thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing if you like this kind of stuff. I got more stuff coming for the Tundra. Consider becoming a channel member. Help support the channel, 99 cents a month. If you don't want to do that, don't feel obligated to. Like, comment, share, all that kind of stuff. It helps out just the same. So thank you guys for watching. That's probably going to be the end of the video. I mean, it is the end of the video. So I don't have much else to say other than thanks for watching. All right. Have a good one. Bye.